War used to be brutal, but it was cheap. For most of human history, war was violent and unforgiving, but it wasn't financially overwhelming. Armies were made of men who already existed. Weapons were often the same tools they used at home. Campaigns were seasonal, short, limited by food and weather. Kings didn't need accountants. They needed loyalty, horses, and time. War had natural limits because people still had farms to return to. If a ruler pushed too far, the system corrected itself. Food ran out. Armies dissolved. Support fractured. No treasury had to sustain endless conflict, because endless conflict wasn't possible. Then something changed. Gunpowder killed cheap war. Gunpowder didn't just make war deadlier, it made it expensive. At first, cannons looked crude. Firearms were slow and unreliable. Traditional elites dismissed them. But cannons changed siege warfare overnight. Stone walls that stood for centuries collapsed under sustained fire. Now fortresses had to be redesigned. Thicker walls, lower angles, engineered defenses. That meant specialists, materials, time, money. War stopped being something soldiers carried on their backs. It became something states had to deliver. War became industrial. Victory no longer belonged to the bravest. It belonged to whoever could keep paying. Power began to centralize. Local lords couldn't afford cannons. Small kingdoms couldn't maintain permanent fortifications. Feudal systems weren't built for continuous military expense. Only centralized states with stable taxation could survive. Gunpowder didn't just destroy castles, it destroyed decentralization. War became permanent, so taxation became permanent. Subjects didn't just owe loyalty anymore, they owed money. Debt became a weapon. Taxes weren't enough. Gunpowder wars were too large, too constant, so states borrowed. Not as a last resort, but as strategy. Bonds funded wars. Credit extended campaigns. Bankers became more important than nobles. A ruler who could borrow could fight longer than one who couldn't. War was no longer limited by manpower. It was limited by credit. Inflation enters quietly. Raising taxes too high risked revolt. Borrowing too much risked default. So governments did something more subtle. They changed how the cost of war was felt. Instead of taking more today, they made money worth less tomorrow. Inflation didn't erase the burden. It dissolved it. Before gunpowder, inflation was emergency survival. After gunpowder, it became system management. Not explosive collapse, but steady erosion. Enough to buy time, enough to keep going. The modern state was born permanent taxation, standing armies, public debt, central authority. None of this came from philosophy. It came from cost. Technology made violence too expensive to manage informally. So finance stepped in, and once that bridge existed, it stayed. Today, war isn't limited by manpower. It's limited by budgets, aircraft carriers, satellites, cyber systems. The question isn't who fights best. It's who can afford to keep fighting. The real lesson: restraint rarely comes from morality alone. It comes from cost. When cost is deferred, absorbed, or disguised through finance, restraint weakens. Gunpowder didn't just change war. It changed what power requires to exist. And once systems evolve around absorbing massive cost, they reshape everything above them. Institutions, money, the lives inside them. History doesn't repeat, but it rhymes with brutal consistency. When technology raises the price of power, money fills the gap, and that bridge is rarely dismantled.